In 2010, the top hedge fund made as much money as Apple. Apple has approximately 700,000 employees and contractors all over the world. The top hedge fund had under 100 employees. So with under 100 employees, they supposedly produced as much economic value as Apple with 700,000 employees. What did they do? What did they do for all that money? We ought to be feeling their impact, right? They ought to be doing something great, absolutely stupendous for the American economy. So where does all that money come from? How is it possible for that much money to exist? I mean, you're hoping to get your $50, $60 an hour, and you're well on your way to doing that, and you'll be worth every penny. Where does all their money come from? Any questions so far? Are you with me? Yeah? Still awake? Okay, good. Most of you anyway, all right. I want you, there's only one chart in this whole talk that you've got to grasp and hang on to. And if you do, this chart will do you well for the rest of your life. What we're looking at here, that top purple line, is a measure of U.S. productivity. Have you heard the word productivity at work? Are people talking about productivity? You know, how much output you put out. They want you to get a certain number of jobs done. Well, if you measure that for the whole economy, what it comes down to is it measures the level of organization, technique, technology, skill that exists in the whole economy. And what's amazing about the American economy is that every year, in the last 65 years, every year except 5 years, productivity went up. In other words, the way they measure it is they take the total amount of what we produce and divide it by the number of hours it takes to produce it. Not how much it costs, but the number of hours. So we were able to produce more and more per hour every year, and even the years that it didn't go up, it didn't go down by very much. That steady line measures the wealth of the United States. Up, up, up. That's why we've got so much stuff. And you've probably already seen it in your short careers, that new techniques come in, right? You get to use a different kind of a switching box or something. You get to do the job faster, a little bit better, more efficiently. Not only faster, but sometimes actually even better, right? So that's part of productivity. Well, between World War II, the end of World War II, and through the mid-1970s, every time productivity went up, the average worker's wage also went up. In real terms, after inflation. And I don't think too many people here are my age, but if you grew up when I grew up, in the 50s and 60s, you would have noticed my parents were working class immigrant people. And their standard of living, we lived, little box house out in the burbs, and you could see that their standard of living was going up every year, a little bit. You know, they got a few more, air conditioners for the house, and then they even went on a vacation, to some place. They went on like a cruise for the first time in their lives, like in the 60s. They were able to send me to a private university. They couldn't, my older sister, because they didn't have the money then. That was going on throughout the economy, and the real wage went from about $400 a week, after you take care of inflation in today's dollars, went up to $746 a week. That's average for working people across the economy. Then you notice something weird happen. The two lines split apart. Wages start going down, productivity keeps going up. And that's something quite amazing happened when those two lines split apart. Any idea? Any ideas come to mind? Yeah?
I would say internet, electronics.
Internet comes later. Actually comes later. Comes in the 80s. But there was some technology involved. But it's funny. These two lines in Europe don't split apart like this. And they have the same technology. Here something special happened. Any ideas? Yeah. There was a very turbulent period of the economy. And a bunch of economists and policymakers got together and they said, you know what, we need a new theory of how to run this economy. And here's what we should do. We should deregulate, which is unions, but also we should deregulate finance. Especially finance. Finance, if you deregulate them, they're going to do some good things. So let's make it tough for unions, deregulate finance, get rid of taxes especially on the rich people. Because what's going to happen is you put all that together, and they're going to invest it, and you're going to get a boom, and all boats are going to rise. That was the theory. And so they put that into practice there, and they wanted to, the gentleman that mentioned, the brother mentioned greed, yeah, they wanted to put greed to work for the American economy. We're going to make greed work for us. And we did, as you can see, productivity really took off, but the wages didn't. And the gap between those two lines had to go somewhere. So where did it go? The only chart I could find anywhere that looks like this one is this one. Note, kind of the same. They split apart. They're together. You know what this is? This is the wages in the financial sector versus everything else. Wall Street wages versus wages in industry, your wages, average. The two were together, like in the other picture. Then once deregulation takes place, a few years later, this is 1980, the wages on Wall Street shoot up like a rocket. Boom. Right? And so that's like in the mid-70s, and now the line split apart in 1980s. The money goes up to Wall Street. This answers the question of how do these hedge funds have so much money to even play with? Because this theory of deregulation and tax cuts came in, and once you deregulate Wall Street, you can expect incredible things to happen, and they did. Okay, so that's our little investment boom. This is the plan that split the lines.